Madrid woke up to celebration. The grandest event of the century was here, the royal wedding of Princess Leonor of Spain and Prince Christian of Denmark. For months, Europe had been buzzing with anticipation. Streets were decorated, church bells rehearsed, and television networks prepared for a global broadcast. The future Queen of Spain was about to marry the future King of Denmark, a love story that had captured the world. But no one knew that behind the Golden Palace gates, something unthinkable was unfolding. The wedding that was supposed to unite two monarchies would soon reveal a twist that would leave both nations speechless. It began like a fairy tale. The sun rose over Madrid, spilling gold over the royal palace, where hundreds of royal guards stood in ceremonial formation. Thousands gathered along the streets, waving Spanish and Danish flags, cheering for the royal couple. Inside, Princess Leonor, radiant in a hand-embroidered ivory gown, stood before the mirror, her mother Queen Letizia by her side. "You look every inch a queen," Letizia whispered, tears glimmering in her eyes. Leonor smiled softly. "It feels unreal, Mama. After all the secrecy, the waiting, the duty, today it finally happens." Her father, King Felipe VI, entered moments later, his voice firm but proud. "Spain is proud of you, hija mía. Today, you're not just a daughter, you're history." Meanwhile, across the courtyard, Prince Christian adjusted his collar, nerves hidden behind royal calm. His father, Crown Prince Frederick of Denmark, gave him a reassuring pat. "Remember, my son, love may be royal today, but it must stay human tomorrow." Everything was perfect, or so it seemed. As the clock struck noon, the royal procession began. Carriages rolled through the heart of Madrid, escorted by cavalry, musicians, and cheering crowds. The cathedral bells rang in joyous rhythm, echoing across Spain and Denmark, where millions watched live. Inside Almedina Cathedral, the atmosphere shimmered with emotion. The Spanish royal family stood alongside Denmark's royals, Queen Margrethe smiling proudly, her eyes glistening with joy. The choir began its song. Leonor entered the cathedral, her gown trailing like moonlight, every camera flashing. Christian stood at the altar, his gaze fixed on her, the woman he loved, the future queen of another land. For a moment, time itself seemed to stop. The Archbishop of Madrid stepped forward. "Your Royal Highnesses, today you join not only two souls but two nations." Leonor and Christian exchanged glances filled with warmth, affection, and hope. "I, Leonor, take you, Christian, to be my husband. I, Christian, take you, Leonor, to be my wife." The cathedral erupted in applause. Cameras zoomed in on their joined hands. But just as the Archbishop reached for the royal seals to finalize the vows, a royal aide, pale and visibly trembling, hurried up the aisle. He whispered urgently into King Philippe's ear. The king's expression froze. A chill passed through the hall. The music faltered. The Archbishop hesitated. The world watched, confused, as the King of Spain slowly rose to his feet. "Ladies and gentlemen," King Felipe began, voice grave, "I must ask for a brief pause." The cameras cut to wide angle. Murmurs filled the cathedral. Christian looked puzzled. Leonor frowned, heart racing. The aide handed Felipe a sealed folder, an official-looking envelope marked with the emblem of the Spanish Constitutional Council. He opened it, scanned the papers, and his face turned pale. "This cannot be," he muttered. Queen Letizia whispered, "Felipe, what is it?" The king hesitated, then turned toward the stunned audience. "It appears, there has been a legal complication concerning the succession. Laws of Spain and Denmark, and the implications of this union." Gasps rippled through the cathedral. The Archbishop stepped back in confusion. Cameras zoomed in. Viewers across Europe leaned closer to their screens. "By the terms of our constitution," Felipe continued, voice heavy, "the marriage of two direct heirs, both future sovereigns, may create a constitutional crisis. A joint monarchy between Spain and Denmark would violate both nations' laws of succession." Queen Margrethe's eyes widened in disbelief. "That cannot be," she whispered. Christian stepped forward, his voice steady. "Your Majesty, with all due respect, we've prepared for this." Both governments approved, but Felipe raised a trembling hand. "The Danish parliament has just withdrawn approval. Effective immediately." The words echoed through the cathedral like thunder. Panic erupted. Officials rushed in and out, journalists whispered, guests exchanged stunned glances. The live broadcast flickered as news anchors scrambled to interpret what had just happened. Leonor stood frozen, her bouquet trembling in her hands. "They can't just cancel our marriage like this," she whispered to Christian. "Not now. Not here." Christian took her hand. "Then we'll marry without them." The archbishop, hesitant, whispered, "Your Highness, without legal sanction, I cannot proceed." Tears welled in Leonor's eyes. Around her, the world she had spent her life preparing for was collapsing in real time. Queen Letizia rushed forward, embracing her daughter. "We'll fix this, Leonor. Don't you dare lose faith now." But the cameras caught everything: the tears, the whispers, the confusion. Outside the cathedral, crowds began to chant. Some shouted support for Leonor and Christian's love. Others demanded answers from both governments. Europe was in chaos. Moments later, an emergency royal meeting took place in a private chamber within the palace. Present were King Felipe, Queen Letizia, Queen Margrethe, Christian, and Leonor. Felipe set the papers down. Apparently, a document was leaked, a confidential clause in the Danish succession law stating that any heir who marries a reigning monarch of another nation forfeits their right to the Danish throne. Silence. Leonor blinked in disbelief. "You mean, if we marry, Christian loses his crown?" Margrethe nodded, tears in her eyes. "It's true. The law was written generations ago to prevent merging thrones." Christian clenched his jaw. "Then I'll renounce it." "Christian," Margrethe began. "No, grandmother. I choose Leonor. I choose love." The room fell silent again, only the faint echo of bells still ringing outside. Hours passed. Negotiations went on behind closed doors. The press outside speculated wildly, some claiming the wedding was cancelled, others saying it was proceeding in secret. Finally, as dusk fell over Madrid, the palace doors opened once again. The royal couple stepped out hand in hand, faces calm but resolute. Leonor addressed the world first. "Today was meant to be a union of joy. But love is never without trial. We have learned that our marriage would change not only our lives but the future of our nations. For that reason, we have made a decision together." Christian continued, voice strong. "I will no longer stand as heir to the Danish throne. My place is beside Leonor, as her husband, her partner, and her equal. My duty is to love, not to rule." The crowd erupted in emotion, some crying, some cheering, others stunned beyond words. The twist no one expected had just happened. Prince Christian had given up his crown for love. Later that evening, away from cameras and officials, Leonor and Christian stood together in the small chapel of San Juan within the royal palace. Only their parents and siblings were present. No photographers, no politics, only love. By candlelight, they exchanged vows once more. "I marry you not as a princess," Leonor whispered, "but as the woman who loves you." "And I marry you not as a prince," Christian replied, "but as the man who will never leave your side." When they kissed, even the guards turned away, tears in their eyes. Outside, thunder rolled across the Madrid sky, but inside, peace finally settled. By morning, headlines around the world screamed, "Prince Christian renounces throne for love." Princess Leonor secretly wed, historic royal upheaval rocks Europe. Spain was divided, some celebrated Leonor's courage, others feared political backlash. In Denmark, debates raged over Christian's decision, but younger generations called it the most romantic act of the century. For the first time in modern history, love had defied centuries of royal law. A year later, the couple appeared again, at the same balcony of the royal palace in Madrid, waving to cheering crowds. They were radiant, stronger than ever. Leonor, now carrying the full weight of Spain's future, ruled with grace and compassion. Christian supported her quietly, becoming a global symbol of humility and love. When asked by a journalist if he ever regretted giving up his crown, Christian simply smiled. "A crown sits on your head. Love lives in your heart. I chose the one that lasts longer." Leonor turned to him, eyes shining. "And Spain chose a king of hearts." The world has not stopped talking about that day, the day Europe gasped in disbelief, then cried tears of joy. The wedding that began in shock ended in history. The twist that once divided nations united hearts. And through it all, Princess Leonor and Prince Christian proved that love, true, royal, fearless love, can rewrite even the oldest laws of crowns and kingdoms.